Okay, welcome back to another exciting episode of Talk Green with TG, the show where we break down sustainability into real practical choices that anyone can make. Today, we are welcoming a truly refreshing voice in the world of conscious consumerism, Angela Bo, the 67-year-old mother, grandmother, and founder of Angela Bo Recommends. Angela has made it her mission to help people avoid landfill clutter, sweatshop made junk, and misleading eco-marketing. She's the person families call when they're stuck buying gifts for those hard to buy for loved ones and they want something meaningful, ethical, and actually useful. From our no sponsorship policy to her hands-on testing and unique A/B rating system, Angela brings honesty, transparency, and practicality to a space usually filled with greenwashing. Today, she's here to help us rethink the way we shop, give, and make choices that are better for people and the planet. So get ready, sit tight. This is going to change the way you look at gifts forever. So welcome to the show once again, Angela.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Angela, I'm curious. Tell us about an Angela Boo recommends.
Okay, well, it's my brand new venture. I call this my second wind. Being 67 in the United States, that's past the retirement age, so I don't have to work. So, I'm able to start a new business, and that's what I'm doing with my later years. And I started out making printed T-shirts, and
Wow.
I was working on that, and I went to a seminar and they said, think of your target audience. How are you serving them? How are you helping them? And then I immediately realized that I couldn't help them selling t-shirts. And so I switched to, instead of selling things,
Wow.
to recommending things. And then as I recommended things, I discovered, you know, well, I don't want to recommend that. It's it's probably made by little children in China. I don't want to do that. That's probably dumping tons of chemicals in some water somewhere. So that's when I started being kind of re-looking at what I'm recommending to people. And it's actually really challenging because it here I anyway when people in the shopping in the United States online, very few companies want to admit where they're getting their goods from. If they're getting it from an angelic
Yeah.
source, they will say, but usually they're not. And so immediately I think sweatshop. So um I spend a lot of time, investigating them here in the United States. We have a thing called the Better Business Bureau to see if people have been
Okay.
complaining about them. I look on Reddit where people tend to post all kinds of things, and sometimes that's where you find out, oh, well, I bought this product and it actually came from China. So I'm checking a lot of resources, and that's what I do. And actually, very not that many gifts that I think are cute and that somebody would want to give are I'm not able to pass them because I don't have enough. So I write them and the companies, and maybe they will write me back.
That's a lot of work to do.
Maybe
That's a lot of work to do. It's really amazing.
maybe when I'm big and famous, like, Martha Stewart or Oprah Winfrey, they will, think, we should respond to her. But
Yeah.
I'm
And
just a little person right now.
trust me, you're
Thank
getting there. You're getting there. You're getting there, and you will get there. So, Angela, what was that single moment that made you realize, hmm, I can't recommend gifts like this anymore? What was that single moment?
I can't say it was a single moment because it just kind of grew on me. Um, and I just realized I don't want to recommend that. just not me. That's not, I don't want to recommend things that are bad for people or bad for the planet or exploiting somebody somewhere. I rely really heavily on that certain countries have pretty strong labor laws, like United States, Canada, UK, EU, Australia, New Zealand, and then pretty much everywhere else is suspect. Um,
Oh,
and that's what I really have to dig in. Like if there was somebody from selling in Nigeria, for instance, I would be looking for actual certificates saying,
oh,
this we've been investigated and we're running our business at a certain level. And um, because, or like India has strong laws protecting people, but they're not enforced. So
oh,
therefore, they're meaningless. And I have to go in and say, do you have certifications of
yes.
any kind?
You've been in this for decades. Like, how did kids of being the family gift expert shape your approach to ethical shopping?
Okay, well, over the years, I've made some really bad mistakes. And, on Christmas morning, and they're opening their packages, and you just see the little, it's probably not that, it's probably more subtle than that. And you just go, oh, well, gosh, that was not a good gift. And, it's just something you develop over the years. And then people call me up, family members, and they say, I don't know what to get, so and so. It's usually a man. And men are very hard to buy for in the United States because usually they have everything. And plus, they have like a limited window of what they want. Like a lot of men,
Yeah,
like most women, you can get them jewelry, right? But you
yeah,
can't do that for
actually,
men
yeah,
because he might not wear jewelry. So there's a lot of
yeah.
men have these little narrow things that are them. I'm trying to come up with alternatives.
Okay, okay. I think I know I'm a man, and then I know our choices are not that wide, so we have some kind of narrow expectations. But I think for a man, a wristwatch cuts it. A
Well,
man would almost always accept a wristwatch. Yeah, I think
I think
that's
maybe that depends. If they're in the United States, they probably have a wristwatch. And so they probably are already wearing one or they have an Apple Watch. So they wouldn't
um,
be that interested. Um Now, if you know the man well enough to know that he likes to wear different watches, then yeah, that would absolutely be
okay,
something. But you really have to know them. Kind of need to go in their bedroom and
yeah,
see, does he have a lot of watches, or notice, that he changes watches. It's
uh,
because so I don't usually recommend watches or clothing because clothing everybody gets wrong. And as
yeah,
it turns out, there's a lot of problems with clothing, textiles, and how they're made and how they're dyed. And of course, a lot of the cutest, most fun things are polyester. And,
yeah,
now we know that's really bad. So I'm not recommending anything polyester. Cuts out 99% of what I can recommend. So I don't find too many clothes. Maybe some nice, uh, I things from Iceland, where I know that they, again, it's part of Europe, so it has pretty strict laws, and they do a lot of handicraft goods there, and so I know that their woven woolens are completely made there and haven't, there's no, first off, it's woven with colored yarn, not printed. It's the printing and dyeing that's really difficult to recommend a product that's been printed or dyed.
you do take a lot of environmental consciousness when you do your recommendations, and that's so it's so great and amazing. So I would want to know, like, what's the biggest lie consumers are told about eco-friendly or sustainable products?
Oh, it'll just say ethical sourcing. Well, and that's just a thing that they just say. Or And here in the United States, a lot of places you shop are hiding that they're it's going to come from China. And that's probably the big here in the United States is the biggest one. You don't know until you're waiting and you're like, why is this product taking so long to get to me? And it finally arrives and it's from DHL and it's got all this customs paper attached to it and it's been shipped from overseas. So it took a
Yeah.
long time. So that's the biggest one. They don't tell the truth about where the goods are coming from.
Oh.
And they actively mask it.
So that's a lot of greenwashing going on. And how do you must struggle to find out all these facts. How do you come about it?
Um, well, I use a lot of AI to help me research the companies as we're going to Better Business Bureau. But I also, right now, I buy the products as much as I can afford to because
Okay.
I'm just a little startup. But if it's an inexpensive item, immediately if something doesn't cost very much, I kind of wonder, is this probably is coming from China? So I'll buy it and see. And that's when I've gotten some real shockers. That's why I know that they absolutely are lying because I didn't even get the same product that was advertised.
Oh. So from this, like what red flags instantly tell you a product might be tied to a sweatshop label or mass dropshipping?
Well, I can't tell for sure. I go by location. If I think it's from China, then it might not be from a sweatshop, but the Chinese are not they're not transparent about what they do. So it's more about avoiding places where there's no transparency. And
Oh,
that I don't have any magic way other to discern, other than, I can suspect by the price if it's a piece of jewelry and it's $20, it's it's coming from China. You know, if it's I actually what I do to get around that is I recommend a lot of Etsy makers because
okay.
and you still have to be careful on Etsy because um they're not all handicraft makers doing it themselves. You have to really make sure. What's nice about Etsy is that usually if you write the owner of the store, they will write you back and they will say, "Oh yeah, no, I make this myself. I'm here in, Idaho and I make this on my farm, whatever." And then the problem with that is that because it's a small maker, if I recommend thousands of people come to their site, they probably don't have enough stock. That's not a problem right now. I don't know.
Oh,
That's a future problem.
yeah. So linking this with environmental change and environmental actions. Um, what in your experience, what makes gifts in your experience truly meaningful instead of just a future clutter?
Yeah, don't give socks for sure. Um, it, it's a, it's about it's like I have a quiz that you can take on my site that asks you questions about your recipient. And part of that is knowing how close you are to the recipient. If you're not very close to a recipient, then there's things that you probably shouldn't give. So I'm asking them, how close they are to them, what they talk about on the phone. When they talk on the phone or they go and visit this person, what's the thing they talk about most? Are they talking about their kids? Are they talking about their job? Or, what do they talk about? And a lot of my questions are around that. And then I don't want to just go and say, oh, what are their hobbies? Oh, are they into golf, check off that from a list of 10,000 different possible hobbies. I'm trying to look. So what makes a gift meaningful? Is it something that they are not going to stick in a drawer and look again, or, for a few years, and finally it's going to go either in the trash or to Goodwill? So you want something that has sort of an intrinsic value even if it's not worth that much, it's just going to have a value to that person based on the relationship you have with them, kind of.
Yeah,
I'm big on
I
DIY
concur with that.
gifts.
Oh, that's truly interesting. DIY gifts, yeah, actually interesting. Um, I also want to ask, um, why do so many eco-friendly products still contribute to waste, and how can buyers spot the difference?
I guess I don't know if the average consumer can spot the difference, but you can certainly stay away from things that are going to be problematic, like printed fabrics and probably for me, leather goods. How if you're concerned about animal cruelty, things like that, how are they getting their leather? Is it as a byproduct? Or if, of course, fur, that would mean they're probably slaughtering an animal to do it. I care about those kind of things. Um, but again, it's largely where the good is made that you can rely on. The EU has really strict laws regarding labor and uh, what companies can do with their wastewater and things like that. So I'm kind of relying on laws, but it has to be in a country where they enforce the laws.
Um, I want to ask you your advice now. So, what
Okay,
advice would you give to me? What advice would you give to me to what advice do you have for me for reducing holiday or birthday gift waste without killing the joy of the gifting?
what advice would I have is, first of all, I don't know how it is in Nigeria, but I would think about doing DIY presents. And there's a lot of cute
Okay.
things that you can do that even if you're not a artsy crafty person, you can still do something that's meaningful. I put them up as when I do a result on my search, I put up 10 things you can buy, 5 things you can make, and a bunch of stuff you shouldn't make. But I would immediately think of giving up wrapping paper, putting it, wrapping it in cloth. Take a note, a page from the Japanese where they're wrapping with a piece of cloth. Now I know that there's lots of, lovely cloth in Nigeria, some really lovely bright colored things that you can wrap gifts with that. If you
Yeah,
do
yeah, we
wrapping.
do.
And then but sometimes it could be simple, like you're giving somebody a jar of wishes, like a big jar, a container, and in it you've folded up little pieces of paper, and in each one there's like a good wish for them for the day. Or if you're religious,
Yeah,
it could be a prayer, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah. Some time ago, I actually had that in mind. A friend of mine's birthday was coming up, so I thought to get a jar and get these small sticker notes. Yeah, so I
the
got
little post-it
them
notes.
and yes, postal notes. Yeah, 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 yeah. So I got them and scribing some different words of even poetry. Um, a Christian. I wrote some Bible verses and other stuff, and then yeah, and that's so thoughtful and yeah,
Yeah, I
DIY.
think that's a nice gift. So that's a
Yeah,
kind, that, and also instead of those bad gifts, I keep things that people give to me that I don't like. and I regift them. Some
Okay.
people are really
Oh,
against that, but they would probably be in the United States where we just have too much of everything. Um, I think it's fine, to have a drawer or a box somewhere where you have some nice things and you can pass it on.
yeah.
And and
I
here in the United States we have thrift stores where they're selling used goods and clothing. I think even a used book, um, especially
oh
if you've read it and you can sign the inside and it's a really good book, I think that can be a great gift too. So it doesn't always have to be new and shiny, just something you think is meaningful, and
oh
and then hopefully they will too. Doesn't always work, but
yeah.
you try.
I feel it's in the meaningfulness and the thoughtfulness. Yeah, being thoughtful and mindful about the and intentional. Yeah. I want to know how can ethical gifting influence demands for more responsible global production?
Oh, yeah, it's like if more people demanded ethical products, if more people resisted the temptation to buy the cheapest thing possible. But that's a pretty big ask, even here in the United States at the holidays at this time. A lot of families can be really struggling and they feel a lot of pressure, if they have children or relatives to have everybody have this wonderful Christmas. And, one of the ways you can do that is, of course, keep the cost of gifts way low and and it's just kind of kind of the moment, the Christmas morning moment when they're opening the packages is like more important than what they don't. It's a lot of pressure to put on somebody that no, you shouldn't do that. I mean, they may be struggling to put food on the table for Christmas, but I think for those of us who can afford
Yeah.
to be picky, yeah, we should be picky.
Should make the right decisions to know what to get, and it will influence the producers'
The market,
choices.
yeah.
Yeah. So our yeah the demand affects the supply.
I always hope, because I don't eat
Yeah.
meat and I'm
So
always hoping that I'll influence that with my one little
yeah.
self.
Uh,
Same sort of thing.
okay. Um. Yeah. If if someone wants to shift their entire household towards smarter consumption, where should they start?
Well, here in the United States, they should start with limiting their food waste. I'm not sure, that's probably not true in a lot of the world, but here in the United States, we waste tons and tons of food, and it is actually bad for the environment. It's bad for our carbon footprint. There's many, many articles written that explains that would be the number one thing is to stop wasting food, and then to start
Yeah.
to just look at what you're really buying and how it affects. Where did it come from? How many trees were killed? How many, gallons of water did it take to make this thing? But the first one, at least for United States, would be stop wasting food.
I could say same for over here too. When
Really?
we limit food waste, it actually helps the environment too. Yeah. Okay, and my last but not the least question for you is what do you hope listeners understand, my guests to understand about connecting between the connection between conscious gifting and reducing overall environmental impact?
It's just it's just another flavor of being careful about what you buy. And, thing is, when we're in a gifting season, you're buying an awful lot of stuff. So it's a great time, you know, to look at and be a little more conscious of what you're doing. That would be the main thing.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Angela. It has been an amazing time with you, and I wish we could go on and on and on and on and on.
Oh,
If
you're
my
a
guest wants,
flatterer.
if my guest wants to reach out to you or any of your platforms or websites, where can they reach out to you?
It's Angela Bull recommends, all one word. If they want to write on Facebook or if email me, I'd love to talk to them and get their opinions. And if they're a company that has gifts that they want me to look at and possibly put on my website, I'd like to look at them.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'd like to consider their handicrafts,
Oh,
their
that's
whatever they're
that's that's.
offering.
I hope they find this podcast and then they reach out to you. Yeah, I hope they
Wow,
do
that
that.
would be amazing.
I hope they do that. So, that wraps up today's enlightening conversation with Angela Bull, a woman proving that ethical shopping doesn't have to be expensive, extreme, or confusing. Angela reminds us that sustainability isn't about perfection. Rather, it's about
That's
making
true.
better choices with the time, money, and information we have. If you'd like to explore Angela's work, try her gift match quiz, or discover her honest, no nonsense gift recommendations, you head up to our website at Angela Bo, and you might just find something that will help you avoid the next clutter filled disaster. Thank you so much, Angela, for tuning in
Thank
to
you.
Talking with TG. Thank you so much, my um, wonderful and amazing audience, for tuning in to Talking with TG. And if today's episode inspired you, please do share with your friends and try to keep the conversation on sustainability going. Until the next honest conversation, let's talk green.